Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and I welcome all of you back to another national anthem reaction video. And this is going to be a pretty interesting one entirely because, ladies and gentlemen, if you are unfamiliar with this flag, this is the flag of Liechtenstein. And in terms of just simplicity, it's just a very simple little red and blue flag, which the red is somewhat a little bit more like there's like shades of pink in it somehow. I know it's probably like a very specific term for it, but maybe more with a dash of rouge almost added to it. That's like the only best way I could describe it. So in terms of just describing exactly what Liechtenstein is that you may be forgiven in thinking that if we just go to the map here, well, if you could just see this one here, you may be forgiven in thinking that Liechtenstein is actually a pretty big country because of the amount of, well, counties and rural areas there is like listed along here. However, take a step back and then you'll realize that in terms of actual size, this is, if we just zoom in a little bit on Google Maps, Wikipedia Maps, it's right here where it is literally crushed between between Switzerland and Austria. And it is primarily a German-speaking country, but obviously, well, geographically it makes sense because you've got Germany to the north, Austria to the right, and Switzerland to the left. But in terms of just this outline right here, ladies and gentlemen, what exactly is there to Liechtenstein for a nation that is only 25 kilometers in length? So what exactly is there to Liechtenstein? So kind of very similar to when we were talking about Luxembourg as well as Switzerland. Its level of like architecture and terms of just being encapsulated almost on the backdrop of the Alps. In fact, just to be honest, this entire shot right here looks beautiful. In fact, we can almost get a better idea by going through this website right here. So here we go. The smallest European countries may be tiny in size, but they all have some big record-breaking attributes that make them stand out and compete against the biggest nations out there. The Vatican, the smallest country in Europe as well as the world, which we have covered before, is home to the world's largest church and ruled by the most well-known of all Catholics, the Pope. Monaco, the second smallest country in Europe, has the highest population density on the continent and is the richest in the world per capita. San Marino, the third smallest country in the world, is believed to be the world's oldest surviving republic. And the fourth smallest country in the world is a mysterious landlocked nation whose name most of us can't pronounce or spell properly, Liechtenstein. So there we are, ladies and gentlemen. You could say that throughout this series, we've covered the world's smallest country, and now we're covering the world's fourth smallest country. So that still leaves us with Monaco and San Marino to left to uncover. So we've talked a little bit about where Liechtenstein is, but yes, we're also going to have to cover such things as just what is there to this unusual nation. It has a population of roughly 40,000 people, with 67% being migrants. And again, you have to understand is that that's not really anything to say for or against. It's a nation that is so small and is basically just a stopgap between both Austria and Switzerland. However, what else is there to it? I mean, we've already covered things like this. I mean, just a very small village out in the shadow of the Alps. And what exactly else do we go there as well? Is that we know that their official language is German, but it is technically spoken two different almanac dialects, which is just, it's similar to Austria's, that it's a very different version of German. It's not necessarily too different, but I think there are certain ways they pronounce things differently in Austria, despite the fact they speak German. So going over more of things, Liechtenstein is a constitutional hereditary monarchy whose head of the state is Prince Hans Adam II and is currently reigning prince in the House of Liechtenstein, which has a total of 122 members. And since 2004, Prince Hans Adam II's firstborn son, Prince Alois, is in charge of technically running the country and will succeed his father to the throne. So that's kind of interesting. Is that, well, it might be specifically in this case is that the actual like head or king or Prince Hans himself doesn't technically run the country. He's more sort of like its figurehead. It's more for the sake of there to be one, as opposed to what authority they can actually run. It's a little bit hard to describe. It's sort of the same thing that the UK has. We have what's referred to as a constitutional monarchy. There are certain power limitations that the royal family does have in the UK, but it might possibly be even more for the sake of Liechtenstein, which technically they don't talk about having like a parliament, but they do talk about they do talk about that their family still technically has a hand in running things. Also, according to a report by USA Today from March 2023, Liechtenstein is the second richest country in the world with calculating GDP per capita, which again, you may say that's like, once again, for a population of only 40,000 people, that might just be a thing where it's more down to rather luck than judgment. And just to finally go over 6 little things that you may not know about Liechtenstein. Because the principality is landlocked and surrounded by 2 landlocked countries, being Austria and Switzerland, it is described as a doubly landlocked. The only other doubly landlocked country in the world is Uzbekistan. Liechtenstein was the last country in Europe to give women the right to vote and was granted a referendum in 1984. 600,000 people visit every single year, which is, again, that's more than 10 times its actual living population. 40% of the country is covered in forests. There are only 25 seats in their parliament. The country's national holiday is on August the 15th, the same day as my own parents' wedding anniversary, so that's really interesting. The principality is home to people to around 40,000 who are from in total 108 different countries, and Prince Hans Adam II lives at the Vaduz Castle, a 13th century structure that sits on top of a hill above its capital city. So there probably is going to be quite a lot of, outside of, their hotels, and it does look somehow almost very modern for German architecture, but they seem to know exactly what they're going for. So with just about everything we've covered so far from what I've actually wanted to see, I think it's time, ladies and gentlemen, that we delved a little bit deeper and actually got into their national anthem. Oben jungen Rhein. I think it's something to do with on the young Rhine, or the River Rhine, which makes sense. It's probably one of the things that actually runs through Liechtenstein. But let's see just what it has to offer. So please rise, ladies and gentlemen, for the national anthem of Liechtenstein. High on the young Rhine. nice, ladies and gentlemen, and it's almost strikes me as very, very almost, I want to say very, I mean, it's very, very reminiscent of God Save the Queen, which of course being the national anthem of England. But something also that strikes me as kind of interesting is that, probably owing to how small Liechtenstein really is, it's amazing that actually they cram as much of what you could almost imagine Liechtenstein is extremely proud of. Its royal lineage, it's very German influenced attention to architecture, to its industriousness, to just how pleasant it looks. And that's like a rare. It just Liechtenstein for some reason does look like a really nice place to live. Maybe it's because geographically it's in one of the most it's in among sort of like the range of the most sublime parts of Europe. Maybe because it is just such a small nation that you sort of think that it's the sort of place where you could just people keep themselves to themselves, and it's peaceful. And finally, it even just well, actually, yeah, well, of course, it does share the same melody as and Norway's royal anthem. That is technically true, I suppose. And also, there's only one more thing I feel like I want to add is that once during a soccer match between Liechtenstein and England, the English soccer players ended up singing their anthem twice because the melodies of both were so much the same. So everyone got kind of confused. I actually think that's quite funny, but maybe that's just one of those things when they sound so similar. Anyway, so like I said, for what it's worth, I actually really, really enjoyed it. It was just nice, gentle, a bit familiar, but still good nonetheless. I can take that away, eh? So anyway, I hope all of you guys have enjoyed this reaction video to the national anthem of Liechtenstein, and I cannot wait to talk to you guys again in the next video. Take care, and bye-bye for now.